Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It is another win for Celtic, a win that keeps us 9 points clear at the top of the table. Business as usual, and an appearance from O. And you could say today it was oh so easy. Yes, hello, welcome back. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. It's good to be back into reviewing matches. I've missed the last two. I didn't do Kelly because I was out. I was at Hampden, couldn't make it back to do the video. I missed Morton because I was in Eindhoven in Holland. It feels like it's been ages since I've reviewed the game. How do you do this again? I can't remember. No, I'm joking. Here we are, Dundee United 0, Celtic 2, and a brilliant win. And a massive win for us up at Tannadice today because, you know, we've seen Rangers won yesterday, and for as much as we're comfortable in our position right now in the Scottish Premiership, there's no need for anxiety, there's no need for panic. There's no need for any of that, none of those emotions. But it's always nice to get the win, and it's always nice to maintain the lead that we do hold over our rivals, and not open any doors for them. So it was going to be a task today. The fact that we went up there the last time, we beat them 9-0. Dundee United were going to do everything in their power to try and recover something, a bit of pride from the last visit. And you've seen that in their performance today. They were very defensive. They didn't really come out all that often. They didn't try too much. They just had to make sure they didn't get battered again. And they've done a pretty decent job at that. They made it a difficult game for Celtic because, before I get into the specifics in both halves of the game, etc., etc., let's be real, wasn't the most entertaining game of football in the world. It was actually quite a boring watch, if you ask me. I've certainly seen better. I've certainly seen worse. But it was a tough watch, I think. For the neutral, it wouldn't have been an entertaining game. And that's probably down to the fact Dundee United really did make sure that we didn't get in there and do what we done back the last time we visited. Because that's the thing. The last time we went there, we basically scored every chance we got. And the chances they allowed us to make created the downfall. So it was about simplifying their approach, I think, in terms of maybe not being so open, but certainly making it more difficult for us to have the fluidity we would normally have to our game. I mean, you look at the stats right enough, and we absolutely dominated it today. 73% possession, 18 shots, only 6 of them on target. And that's the biggest difference, I suppose, because when we went to Tannadice early in the season, everything was going on target and everything was hitting the back of the net. So today, by making maybe some of the chances more difficult for us, for positioning ourselves a little bit better, tightening up in areas that they didn't so much in the first visit this season, it allowed them to make us be a little bit less effective in front of goal, you could say. But nonetheless, we got through it. And I mean, when you're 0-0 at half-time, I wasn't panicking, I wasn't worried. But when you're 0-0 at half-time, you're still like, right, okay, we need to come out here in the second half and we need to get things done. And we certainly did do that. But let's talk about the specifics. Let's talk about the two halves of football. Who was the performers to remember? Was there any performances to forget? A lot to uncover in this video. For the team selection today, I must admit, I think that is our strongest known 11 right now. Obviously, there is room for the likes of Kobayashi, Iwata, to give us performances that are good enough to say they should be in the strongest 11. But to our knowledge so far, I would say that was the best 11 today on the park. The traditional Jota, Abada, Kyogo connection in the first half, they looked up for it. They really did. I think Jota especially looked. He loves Tannadice. He really does. And today it looked right from the first whistle that he was really in for it today, and he wanted a game. He wanted a goal. He ends up getting his goal. But I think that the majority of what we'd done in the first half was down to him and Kyogo especially. There was a really good bit of thinking between the two. Moving well, getting into areas. Obviously, Kyogo offside unluckily a couple of times, but they were certainly trying, and Jota especially, you know, he kept cutting in from that left-hand side, looking for the shot. He was very active in the game today, and I think that front three for me is just, it's hard to pick the strongest front three, and I don't honestly know if there is a strongest front three, because Maida's form has been tremendous as of late, as we all know, but I think that for me is the traditional three, the main three that I like to see, and it was good to see them playing today and see them have a, you know, I thought a decent enough game. I think Abada was probably the quietest out the three, but you know, they all put in a shift, and I think that team and that bench that you see there just has to speak absolute volumes to how well we've done recruitment wise under Ange, both in the January transfer window and all past windows. It's unbelievable the side we have built. That bench today was so strong. Unbelievably strong. And you know that if somebody drops out early in the game with an injury or something has to be shaken up in the second half, you're turning to a bench full of, game changers, game winners, and players that ultimately make the opposition roll their eyes. It's tremendous when you look at that. It really is. I think the story of the first half mainly was we just couldn't get through to find that clinical chance. We were getting forward, we were moving into good areas, and we were getting chances away, but they weren't convincing chances. They weren't chances that get you off your seat. There was a couple, don't get me wrong, and of course we'll come on to the penalty shout in a moment, but I just think that Dundee United set up in a way that really made it difficult for us to find those maybe clear-cut chances that we see time after time in games. And when you look at the stats, you see 18 shots, that would maybe suggest to you that we did have tons of them, but I don't really think we did. A lot of the shots that we had today, especially in the first half, were things like, Jota cutting in and having a wee pop that would go wide. I think Hatate had one, for example, that was close from range, went wide. There was chances we certainly could have done better, but I think Dundee United set up in such a way that made this difficult. It made it difficult for us to find that same attacking rhythm that we have in our games normally. Now, what I will say is in the second half, that certainly changed, and I think, as I touched on, the 0-0 going into half-time can always be a bit of a no-no, and you don't like that. But it's good that we reacted very, very quickly. But before we talk about the second half, we need to talk about the first penalty cry. I don't know how much time I have to edit this, so it might be on screen. If it's not on screen, you've seen it anyway. Kyogo goes down in the first half through a goalkeeper challenge. And he comes right through the back of him to try and clear the ball. He does punch the ball away successfully, but in the same time, he connects with Kyogo. And if you look at the still image, and if you look at it in slow motion, there is nothing there to me that suggests that he wins the ball first. And even if he does win the ball first, he still makes contact with the back of Kyogo's head and goes right through the back of him. And we always have this thing in football where goalkeepers, I think, get let away with murder because they're goalkeepers. He lies in the deck for about 3 minutes, the keeper, pretending he's hurt. Maybe actually, I think it was closer to 5 minutes, and only 3 minutes was added on to the end of the first half, which was questionable in itself. But he lies in the deck, acting it, to say the least, while Kyogo's taking it right through the back. And the referee's asked to make a VAR decision. He initially gives the penalty, which is the right decision. It should have been a penalty. And then he's asked to go to VAR, he double checks it, and everybody in the studio seems to agree that it's not a penalty either. And I can understand it, because when you watch it for the first few times, even myself, I said to myself, it looks as though he has punched the ball away, and that's fair, he won the ball, he got the ball first. But then when you just keep watching it and watching it and watching it, it's a penalty. And I'm getting fed up with these decisions, because it feels like last week there's one that we get given a penalty that shouldn't be a penalty with the Effie Ambrose handball. Then this week this happens, which is far, to me, a much clearer penalty, and we don't get it. So I'm getting kind of sick of it. I think it should have been a penalty. Kyogo takes it's like a Superman punch from Roman Reigns, as I said on Twitter. Somebody's been watching the Royal Rumble last night. But I think it was a clear penalty. If you want to look at the image yourself, if you don't believe me, if you're a supporter of another club, then go and find the images. But you can't go in, punch the ball away and punch a player at the same time and get away with it. Especially when the referee's watching it back and then reversing his decision. He knows that his first decision was right. So I don't know what's convinced him to change it. Second half, we woke up a little bit and then we got our chance. We put it away. It's a fantastic finish from Jota to head it in from the angle he's in. He's basically in line with the goal line, and he manages to head it in the net. It's a fantastic cross as well from Moy. Moy's just so good, isn't he? We've got to rant and rave about him today. Just again, he's just in fire. But great cross, great header. Jota is still, in my opinion, the best player in this country. In terms of technical ability and the quality of player, I don't think there's anybody better in Scottish football than Jota. And that's the kind of goal that exemplifies that for me. Just brilliant. The way that he manages to find the back of the net. And then obviously minutes later, we make it 2-0 with a penalty that was, the clearest penalty you're ever going to see. There's no question about it. It had to be a penalty. If it wasn't given as a penalty, I would have been on here conspiring. I would have been on here ranting. And I would have maybe chucked it. I would have maybe got cancelled, in fact. It's a clear penalty. We get the penalty. Aaron Moy has to be the penalty taker now for Celtic. I feel confidence with Moy standing. I know he's only hit 2 or 3. But I do feel confidence when he steps up to take it, unlike a lot of the other players in this team. God help us if we're at a penalty shootout in Hampden this month. But Moy I feel confident with. He converts it, adds another goal to his tally. He's cooking with gas now. It took him a while to find his first for the club. But now that he's found that, the goals are flooded in for him, and it's great to see. And in the space of 10 minutes since the start of the second half, we're up 2-0. Game's over. The rest of the second half, business as usual. Once again, slowed it down a little bit. Dundee United, I think, were very keen not to concede another goal, and we certainly did have chances we could have converted, but listen, I'm not going to complain. I'm very happy with what I've seen throughout the entirety of the game. It was a decent watch, yada yada. All gets on, we get our first look of him, and he looks a player. He looks good, and I would have loved to see him score or get a big chance today, but he didn't. But apart from that, the fact that he never got the chance to find himself in the score sheet, he looked good. He looked ready to go. I don't think there's going to be any bedding in process here for another player who I think is ready to come right in and give us what they've got and be a very influential part of the system. So I'm very excited about that. I'm very glad that he's here now. A great option, of course, with Giacomakis departing. I'm very excited for him. I'm happy that he got some minutes today. I would have actually liked it if he got more minutes, because Kyogo wasn't on the score sheet today, and with his chances that he did have, I just didn't see a goal coming for him as the game went on. So I would have liked to maybe see a little bit more of but I guess it's a bit at a time. Let's not rush everything. But I'm very optimistic about the first few minutes that I've seen from his Celtic career. And that every other sub worked out well enough as well. No real bad performers in the park today. I think Joe Hart had a couple of questionable clearances, some poor balls out. I think we've kind of come used to that, to be honest, and that's something I think that will probably be addressed at some point. I love Joe, you know me, he's up there. But everybody played their part today. I thought everybody was good. Not many quarrels about the game whatsoever, apart from the refereeing. I think that the 400th appearance for Cal McGregor couldn't have went much better either. He had a really good, really strong performance today. The way he wins back balls and the situations in the middle of the park, it could be difficult for some players. He makes it look so easy. He makes it look so easy. Really good performance. 400 appearances for our captain. I mean, you can't underestimate the influence Cal McGregor has had at Celtic over the past 6-7 years. He's been a fantastic servant, a fantastic player, rightful captain of the club. And congratulations to him for getting to 400. That's a huge, huge landmark. I mean, it's not many players that make 400 appearances for a singular club, let alone a club the size of Celtic. And it just speaks volumes to how good a player he actually is. But the midfield three today I thought were brilliant. Hatate, Moy and McGregor, and everything that they do right now just turns to gold. So I think that's about it. I don't think there's much else to touch on. I think I've covered every aspect of the game I'd like to. Actually, I think I've been on for a bit longer than I'd like to as well. So I'm going to let you go. Enjoy your dinner, enjoy your Sunday nights, get back to work tomorrow. I'll need to be back to work tomorrow and try and figure out what the video is. So that'll be a bit of work for me. The transfer window's coming to a close, so we'll review that through the week as well. But yes, if you've enjoyed, like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.